Hi guys, it's Ray here from Man City Fan Chat. Hope you're all doing well. Well, I'm in London today and I'm in a little known garden called Christchurch Greyfriars Garden, I think. I'm in the St Paul's area of London. You can just see, if I lit it up, the cathedral in the background. Yeah, it's going to be a very nice day. It's already into the low 20s and it's not even 9 o'clock in the morning. So today we're going to do the second part in our series on City players. Now we're going to look at the midfield today. We're going to look at the players we've already got, any kids that might be coming through, and any possible future signings. Now City have got a lot of midfielders, so what I'm going to split this up between, let's say, defensive or holding midfielders and attacking midfielders. And we don't really seem to play with wide midfielders. We have a defensive midfielder, and in front of them we have two attacking midfielders, playmakers, and then we have three strikers in front of them, or two wingers and a striker. So I'm going to focus on the midfield today. So let's start with that holding or defensive midfielder position. Now, for the last few seasons, our main man has been Fernandinho, and he's been awesome. He just seems to be getting better and better and better. But he's 34 years old. He missed a couple of months last season due to injury, and I think at times it told. In some of the games around Christmas, just before and after, we weren't maybe as good. And then we kind of found a sort of solution for that defensive midfield role when he was out, and that was Ilkay Gundogan. Now, I've said many times, my feeling is Ilkay Gundogan is more of an attacking defensive midfielder, and Fernandinho is more a defensive midfielder, if you can follow that. So Fernandinho for me is more focused on the defensive side of things, and Ilkay Gundogan is a creative kind of player who could actually play slightly further forward. And I've said it with his creativity, that when he's given time and space, Ilkay Gundogan is fantastic. He's world class. I don't know, but he's a very, very, very good player. When he's not given time and space, then he can struggle. He doesn't seem to have the legs and the pace to get up and down and to chase. With Fernandinho focused mostly on the defensive side of the game, he's there to break up play. He's there to win aerial duels, tactical fouls, little nudges and pushes here and there, and to chase and work hard, and to help bring the ball out from the defence. Ilkay Gundogan is there to create chances as well. And if you look at the stats, he does create quite a few assists in the season. But who else have we got there? Well, I'm going to skip over Delph, because by all accounts he's already cleaned his locker out. He's a midfielder, but he's played most of his time at left back at City last season and the season before. So who else have we got? Zinchenko. Now he's spent time playing at left back as well, but on City's website he's down as a midfielder, and that's what he is. Now, I think he's played defensive midfield and maybe even attacking midfield for his country, Ukraine. So it's a possibility that we could utilise him somewhere there, maybe in that defensive midfield spot. But I think it's unlikely, because we went out this week and announced that we'd bought Rodri. Now, Rodri, 22 years old, a lot has been said about him already, and the feeling is he's going to come in. Luis Enrique, the ex-Barcelona and Spain manager, said he's better than Busquets. I think he can be better than Busquets, and who knows where his limit is. So, high praise for a 22-year-old. He's got he's got a bit of development to do. Got to see how he fits in at City, but he started really well. The fans have taken to him. His use of spoken English is excellent. Harry Kane take notes, and so he's going to come in, and we expect him to take over from Fernandinho. Now, maybe the rumours are that Fernandinho might spend more time in defence if needed this season, but Fernandinho can be that versatile player who can play defensive midfield and centre back. Rodri really is just that defensive midfield player. So I think those are our main options at defensive midfield. Who might be coming through though? Have we got any kids that we could potentially look at coming through and who'd help in that position? Well, there's a lot of high hopes for Douglas Luiz. Now, he's a Brazilian kid. He came to us a couple of years ago. He immediately went out on loan at Girona. I'm not sure he did brilliantly there, We were hoping to get a work permit for him last summer, and that didn't come through, even though I think Pep made a impassioned plea with a letter stating his qualities. He wasn't deemed good enough, basically, skilled enough. He hadn't played for Brazil, and I think that apparently is what made the final decision. If he'd played for Brazil, we'd have got that work permit. On the other hand, it's kind of catch-22 situation, isn't it? Because apparently he won't play for Brazil, or until he plays for City, because they think they want him to play at a slightly higher level. So it's a funny old thing. So Douglas Luiz, will he get his work permit? I'm not so sure he'll get his work permit this season, and so I really don't know what's going to happen with him yet. I hope he can get it, and hope he can come back to City and at least play a few games, and we'll see what he's about. Because if he can come in, and if he's good enough, if he can show the potential that he can develop, then you could look at that situation that when Fernandinho goes, we've got Rodri followed by Douglas Luiz. Now that would be fantastic. Another kid that I had high hopes for, Claudio Gomez, who I met last year. He's only 18 years old. He'll be 19, I think, in a couple of weeks' time. Actually, 23rd of July kind of springs to mind. And he came from PSG, and the PSG fans were really sad when he left, because they said he's going to be a star. And I'm not sure how he coped last season. I don't think he did as well as I was hoping and as I expected. Obviously, we don't know the reasons for that. Is it in a new country, acclimatisation, to Manchester, the language, the food, and everything else? So, is he homesick? We have no idea, really. I'd love to get an interview with Claudio to find out how he's doing, and what's happened in the last year whilst at City. So I don't think he's ready. I think he's far from ready, and I expect him to go out on loan this season. Maybe he can go to Anderlecht, where Vinny Kompany's there. Maybe he can go to Girona or NSC Breda. But I think he needs to go out on loan, play at a slightly higher level than the EDS. But he didn't. I don't believe he pulled up any trees at the EDS either. So it's we'll see what happens. I mean, he's still younger, as I said, 18-19 years old. Plenty of time ahead of him. So that's mostly our defensive midfield options. So let's look at the two attacking midfield spots. Now, I think most fans believe that one of them will be covered by Kevin De Bruyne. Now, Kevin De Bruyne spent a lot of last season injured, which was a shame. And when he came back the second time at the end of the season, he looked fully fit, he looked fully focused, and he could concentrate on his football rather than worrying about his body. I think when he came back the first time, it seemed that he just wasn't at the right level, and maybe that was because he was concerned about his body. And if you are concerned about your body, you can play at a few percent below what you should be playing at. You are worried about things, and it came across that way. So hopefully this season, he is a proper world-class player. So hopefully this season he'll show what he's capable of. I'm hopeful that he'll smash 15 assists, get a few goals, create loads of chances, lot of danger. He's a world-class player, and we're lucky to have him at City. So who else will partner him? Most likely it's going to be David Silva. Okay, David Silva is in his last season at City, and even though sadly some City fans had a pop at him last season, saying that he was old, he was past it, he wasn't good enough. I thought he had a brilliant first half of the season when Kevin De Bruyne was injured. Now, and I also think he played a bit too much. He needed some rest. He is 33 years old, so I think he needed a little bit more rest. And he didn't get that in the first part of the season, and he played at a very, very good, very, very high quality level. Second half of the season, it dipped a little bit, but he came back strong at the end. And I think the biggest, I won't say compliment, but the biggest indication of how good he is the fact that Pep Guardiola kept on playing him. While some detractors, some City fans said he's in the twilight of his career and he's not good enough and he should go. It's quite sad that happened. Pep Guardiola stuck by him. And why would he do that? He's doing that because David Silva is still an awesome player. He's still our magician, Merlin. He still kind of conducts that tempo of a game. He can get in between lines, make that killer pass. I love the way he works with Leroy Sané out on the left, absolutely awesome in the way that David Silva can delay that pass for a fraction of a second to make it the perfect pass, you know. And you can see how Leroy is still young and inexperienced when, you know, he sometimes feels frustrated that David hasn't passed him the ball when he wanted, okay? But David passes the ball at the right time, 90% of the time. He passes it at the time he wants to pass it, and it's actually the better time to pass it. So I think he'll take a lot of that space as a second attacking midfielder with Kevin De Bruyne. But I also think, depending on match situations, Bernardo Silva will take some of that attacking midfield role as well. You know, Bernardo Silva can play out wide on the right, and he can play out as an attacking midfielder with KDB. And I think probably Bernardo Silva and David Silva will share for a lot of the season. I mean, we're going to play 60 games, okay, probably, unless we get dumped out of cups early. We'll play the best part of 60 games next season. We played 61 last season, so there's plenty of games for everybody. So Bernardo Silva and David Silva to mainly take up that attacking midfield spot. As I said, Bernardo Silva may play out wide on the right in our strike force, our attackers, sometimes, and that also gives an opportunity for other players who are coming through. So obviously we've got Phil Foden. Now, Phil Foden has bided his time. He's a City lad, you know, he's a City supporter, our Stockport Iniesta, and unlike Brahim Diaz and Jadon Sancho, he's not busting the gut to get out of the place and get more game time. He's getting more game time. He's won 5 domestic trophies in the last 2 seasons. He's getting more game time each season, and I think this season, fingers crossed, will be the season that he makes a real proper breakthrough and ends up, you know, playing 25 games or so this season in that attacking midfield role. It'll be really good. I mean, if you think about it, we've got, you know, 60 games to split between potentially Bernardo Silva, David Silva, maybe a little bit from Ilkay Gundogan. I mean, sometimes he might play there when Rodri's playing at defensive midfield, and Phil Foden. So there's plenty of game time for everybody, and especially if Bernardo's going to play wide on the right as well, there's plenty of game time available for Phil Foden. So anybody's coming through. I don't really believe we've got any kids coming through who are going to challenge. I think the other one is Foden. So it's going to be, you know, very interesting to see whether even Riyad Mahrez, are we going to try him there? I mean, on the City website he's down as a midfielder and Foden's down as an attacker. Not so sure that's true, but you know, it's a possibility that we might try Mahrez there now and again during the season, and he can play with KDB. You know, KDB's going to, I think he's going to be our driving force. Yeah, he's going to drive everything through that midfield in an attacking sense. And my feeling is he should be captain as well, because he's that kind of guy. He's not going to accept poor performances in himself or his teammates, and he's really going to push them forward. We've seen it where he has to go at people for not making a pass or you know, doing something at the right time. His standards are very, very high. So I think that's covered everybody. You know, off the top of my head, I don't think there's any midfielders I've admitted, in whether it's a defensive midfielder or in an attacking midfielder sense. Guys, if you've got any ideas, you know, on formations, who you want to see play, you know, anybody you think might be coming through, let us know in the comment section below, and keep you know, contributing to the site. And if you haven't already subscribed, it would be fantastic. As I say at the end of most videos, if you can subscribe, helps us to get to that 1,000 subscription level, which would be brilliant. And we've been going just under a month. We're on well over 600. Getting 1,000 is big aim right now, and with your help, hopefully we can get there. See you around, Blues.